Ozzy Osbourne surprises 12-year-old Orphan by showing up at his year-end school performance. If I told you what happened that night in a small school hall in Birmingham, you probably wouldn't believe me. One of the world's most famous rock stars came to a 12-year-old Orphan's year-end dance and performed on stage with him. But the real story? The real magic began 3 months earlier and with a 5-page letter written by a boy named Danny Morrison before. We begin to subscribe to Voices of Darkness and share this story with someone who still believes that music can heal the human soul, because tonight, we return to the place where hope played louder than fame. The year was 2024. A soft November wind swept through the narrow streets of Birmingham's outer suburbs, carrying the scent of rain and memory. Inside a small brick house, the faint light of a desk lamp flickered over scattered notebook pages and an old Fender Stratocaster guitar leaning against the wall. 12-year-old Danny Morrison sat quietly, a pencil trembling between his fingers. The paper in front of him already bore 4 full pages of handwritten words filled with pain, gratitude, and music. He wrote slowly, carefully. Dear Mr. Osbourne, my name is Danny. I'm 12 years old. I live in Birmingham, just like you did. I don't have my mom and dad anymore, but I have their guitar, my dad's guitar. When I play your songs, it feels like they're home again. Danny paused, wiping his eyes. The words blurred in the lamplight. It had been 3 years since the accident, since the night-flashing sirens stole away the laughter from his small home. His uncle Martin had taken him in, doing his best, but he worked long hours at the steel plant. Music became Danny's family. Every day after school, he'd sit on his bed, close his eyes, and let the notes of "Mama, I'm coming home" echo through the walls. Sometimes he'd whisper to the silence, "Can you hear me, Mom?" That night, as the rain tapped against the window, Danny wrote the final lines of his letter. Mr. Osbourne, you once said music saved you. It saved me too. Would you come to our school concert? I know it sounds crazy, but if you do, I'll never forget it. Not in my whole life. He folded the letter, slid it into an envelope, and wrote one word across the front. Ozzy. Thousands of miles away, across oceans and time zones, Ozzy Osbourne sat in his Los Angeles garden, the afternoon sun glinting off his black sunglasses. He was quiet that day, too quiet for Sharon's liking. The world knew him as the Prince of Darkness, the madman of rock. But inside he was just John from Birmingham, a man who sometimes missed the simple sound of home. His assistant brought out a pile of fan letters, but one envelope stood out. It wasn't typed. The handwriting was shaky, childlike, and the ink had smudged from tears. Ozzy opened it slowly. As he read, his usual grin faded. His eyes softened. Mr. Osbourne, I think we walked the same streets once. He read every line, and when he reached the part about the old Fender and the boy's parents, he looked at Sharon. Sharon, he said quietly, this kid's telling my story. Sharon saw that familiar spark, the one she hadn't seen since his early Sabbath days. Then go to him, Ozzy. You've always said you owe Birmingham your soul. Ozzy smiled faintly. Then it's time to pay my dues. Guitar chord fades in. Light echo, building tension. 3 months later, St. Mary's Primary School was glowing with excitement. It was the night of the year-end concert. Parents filled the hall, sitting on folding chairs under colorful paper banners. Backstage, the Little Rebels, a small 3-piece band, tuned their instruments. Danny on guitar, Tom Miller on bass, Sarah Jenkins on drums. They weren't the best band in town, but they had heart. Sarah twirled her drumsticks nervously. Danny, we've practiced this 100 times. Don't freeze up now, Danny smiled weakly. I just wish my uncle was here. Tom checked his bass amp. He'd be proud, mate. Your parents, too. Then a knock on the main doors of the school hall. The janitor opened it, and the air froze. Standing there under the yellow corridor lights was Ozzy Osbourne, black leather jacket, faded jeans, and a grin that could melt thunder. Beside him, Sharon, smiling gently. The headmaster, Mr. Williams, nearly dropped his clipboard. Mr. Osbourne, this is impossible. What are you doing here? Ozzy chuckled. Looking for a lad named Danny Morrison. He wrote me a letter, and I'm an old bloke who still believes in answering his mail. Sharon leaned close, whispering, Don't get the boy too excited, Ozzy. Too late for that, love. When they entered the hall, whispers erupted like a wave. Is that Ozzy Osbourne? No way. It is. That's Ozzy. Phones rose. Flashes flickered. Mr. Williams ran backstage. Danny, you need to come out here. Someone wants to meet you. Danny blinked, confused. Now? We're about to go on. And then he saw him. Ozzy walked through the curtain, light hitting his silver cross pendant, and the room fell silent. Danny's mouth opened, but no words came out. Ozzy knelt to meet his eyes. You must be Danny Morrison, mate. That letter of yours. Broke this old heart of mine. Danny's voice trembled. You read it? Every word. He pulled something from his pocket, a black and white photograph. In it, a young Ozzy stood on a Birmingham street corner, clutching a cheap guitar. This was me in '68, Ozzy said softly. I was about your age, lost, broke, but dreaming. Maybe your dad walked by me that day. Birmingham's a small place. Danny smiled through tears. My dad always said, music saves the lost. He was right, Ozzy grinned. So how about we make some noise tonight? Danny froze. You mean, play together? You wrote me, didn't you? Let's give your mom and dad a show worth watching. When Headmaster Williams took the mic, his voice shook. Ladies and gentlemen, an unexpected guest has joined us tonight. Please welcome Mr. Ozzy Osbourne. The crowd erupted. Children screamed. Parents clapped in disbelief. Backstage, Sarah whispered, Danny, I'm shaking. Me too, Tom said. Then let's shake together, Danny smiled. The curtain rose. Ozzy leaned into the mic, that playful glint in his voice. Good evening, Birmingham. It's lovely to be home. Tonight I've got 3 little legends with me, the Little Rebels. And they're going to blow your minds. Sarah hit her snare. Thwack. Tom plucked a deep bass line. Danny strummed the first haunting chord of Paranoid. The crowd went silent. Then the riff dropped, and the school hall exploded. Ozzy's voice filled the room. Finished with my woman 'cause she couldn't help me with my mind. Danny's fingers flew over the strings, fast but soulful. The guitar seemed to cry and sing all at once. Tom's rhythm locked in. Sarah's sticks danced like lightning. And for those 4 minutes, the world outside didn't exist. When Ozzy signaled for Danny's solo, the boy stepped forward. His knees trembled, but his hands didn't. He played a solo that wasn't technically perfect, but it was real. Every note carried love, loss, and something divine. The hall erupted. Parents stood clapping through tears. When the song ended, Ozzy lifted the microphone again. Remember this name, folks. Danny Morrison, the future of rock and roll. Danny looked down at his father's guitar and whispered, We did it, Dad. After the show backstage, Ozzy gave Danny a small black box. Inside lay a silver guitar pick, engraved with the words, Prince of Darkness, for Danny Morrison. Keep playing, Ozzy smiled. You've got something the world can't teach on soul. Don't ever lose it. He handed Tom a custom bass pick and Sarah a pair of signed drumsticks. You 3 stick together. Music's about trust, not ego. Before leaving, Ozzy turned to the headmaster. I'll need your permission slip, sir. Permission slip? Yeah, 'cause in 6 months this band's opening my Birmingham show. The hall fell silent again. Danny stuttered. Us? But we're just kids. Ozzy winked. Age don't matter in music, mate. What matters is truth, and you've got that. Montage-like narration. Upbeat tempo, echoing drums. Winter turned into spring. The little rebels practiced every single day after school. Their fingertips bled, but their spirits soared. Ozzy would call once a week. How's my Birmingham band doing? We're working on Iron Man, Danny would answer. Then make it yours, kid. Don't copy me. Outplay me. Headmaster Williams turned the school's storage room into a rehearsal hall. Even the janitor came to watch them jam. Uncle Martin, finally home from work trips, stood in the doorway one evening. Tears glistened in his eyes. You sound just like your dad, Danny. Danny smiled softly. No, Uncle. I sound like me. 6 months later, Birmingham Arena, 15,000 fans. Lights blinding, banners waving. Backstage, the little rebels stood frozen. Danny clutched his father's guitar so tightly his knuckles turned white. What if we mess up? He whispered. Ozzy, standing beside them, placed a hand on his shoulder. I mess up every night. The trick is, and make 'em love your mistakes. The announcer's voice boomed. Please welcome tonight's opening act, from Birmingham. The Little Rebels. The crowd cheered politely at first, until Danny struck the first chord. That same Fender, once played in a small school hall, now roared through arena speakers. Sarah's drums thundered. Tom's bass shook the floor. They played Iron Man and Sweet Child O' Mine. Danny's solo sliced through the air, pure fire. By the end of the third song, the entire arena was on its feet. Ozzy watched from backstage, smiling like a proud father. He's got it, Sharon, the fire. The soul. Sharon leaned on him. You gave him more than a stage, Ozzy. You gave him himself. When the final note rang out, the lights dimmed. Ozzy walked on stage, microphone in hand. Birmingham. I left this city a dreamer. But tonight I see that dream in this boy right here. Ladies and gentlemen, the future of rock and roll, Danny Morrison. 15,000 people screamed his name. Danny's vision blurred as tears filled his eyes. He looked up into the bright lights, clutching the silver pick. Somewhere in the back of his heart, he could almost hear his mother's voice whisper, We're proud of you, son. The applause went on for minutes. Ozzy lifted Danny's hand high, and in that moment, under the glow of the arena lights, 2 generations of Birmingham souls became one melody. That night, Danny couldn't sleep. The pick still gleamed on his bedside table. He wrote another letter. Dear Mr. Osbourne, thank you for showing me that heroes don't just live in songs. They live in kindness, too. He didn't post it. He didn't need to. Some notes don't need mail. They travel through the air. And so, from a small school hall to a roaring arena, one letter changed 2 lives. A boy who found his purpose and a rock legend who rediscovered his heart. Because music isn't about fame. It's about the moments when pain turns into sound, and sound turns into healing. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to Voices of Darkness. Like this video, share it with your friends, and remind someone you care about that dreams don't fade. They just wait for their song to be played.